Well, hello. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I think we may very possibly be headed towards a total collapse. I've never said that before. I've always planned and prepared as if that were a possibility, but I've never said it, and I never have thought that it was really imminent. I do now. I'll get to that in a minute. First, I wanted to answer a couple of questions. I've had some people ask me or tell me that they were having a hard time finding my books on Amazon. If you go to Amazon, just look up the Stonemont series by Stephen C. Smith and you should find them. And I also always put the links right down here in the information. I think a lot of people don't know maybe that there's like a drop-down menu there or something, a little arrow. You can drop it down, and it should say, first it'll say link to the Patreon page, and next my books, links to my books on Amazon, and then there's a way to order them directly from me if you'd like an autographed copy. But maybe a lot of people didn't realize that. I'll keep doing that, but I've noticed that other channels, sometimes they will put on a comment and then pin it so it's up there at the top so everybody sees it. So maybe that's what I'll do, because I'm sorry, I hate for people not to be able to find the books. And so I will do that. Secondly, I had, after the one that I put up, was it yesterday? I forget, yesterday or the day before. It's been a busy couple of days. And about getting rid of people, getting rid of problem people. I had a person email me a question because over on Patreon I have discussed mafia ways of doing things. And somebody asked me a question about The Sopranos, what I thought of The Sopranos and, you know, what would be going on in there. So I did answer that over there. I'll let you all know here, even though I go into it at great length over on Patreon, because that's where I keep all that stuff. It's kind of a specialized interest, you know. I tell you right now, I think The Sopranos was the stupidest TV show ever made. It was ridiculous. I've never seen anybody act like that. It was horrible writing, horrible acting, horrible editing, horrible directing. Everything in the world was horrible. I know that there's probably a lot of people out there right now going, how can you possibly say that it's the greatest thing that's ever? No, it's not. Okay, so I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bust anybody's bubble, but it's stupid. There are some good, and matter of fact, I put up some things on the Patreon channel where I discuss this, and I am going to talk more about mafia leadership and mafia preparedness, because it is how shall I say this? It goes to the essence of what may be needed now. I don't mean everybody go out and join the mafia. Okay, I don't mean everybody go out and try to act like a godfather or something. But the original intent, the original cause of the rise of those groups was a collapse of their society and an oppressive, corrupt government. Now, that goes back to why do I say, now I'll get into the meat of this, for the one idiot out there says, you spent the first 3 minutes of your video talking about your books and Patreon. So what, buddy? That's what I do. And just because you don't do it, don't get all butthurt or you can leave. Why do I say that? Just like what I said about the cause of the rise of those organizations. I think we've had hard times before. I think things have been tough. I think things have been tough economically before. I think things have been tough as a nation before. We have had tensions. We have had racial tensions. We have had all sorts of things. You know, we had a war between not really between the North and the South, but a bunch of states left. because they were being oppressed, and the remaining state, or at least the president of it, invaded those who left and caused a great chasm in our country that still hasn't healed, nor should it. So we've had a lot of problems before. We have never, in my opinion, had a sum of the kind of problems that we have now. And what I mean by that is that we have a collapsing economy, totally collapsing. We're going to see inflation that is just through the roof. And I don't think most people have any idea how bad it's going to be, what bad things are coming. You look at the price, the price of gas is an easy one, but the price of everything else is just unbelievable. The number of people not working, the number of people who don't want to work. I mentioned the other day I've got to put my Yukon in to get the transmission fixed or replaced. I called them up today, says I'm going to run out there, and they said, well, you can make an appointment. Our earliest appointment is June 10th. It's never been like that before. We see shortages on everything. We are tied in. We rely for some of our most vital, basic things on people who hate our guts. We rely on China. We rely on Russia. We rely on and then we have people running our country who hate us as much as our so-called enemies do. They're trying to bring a collapse. We know that they shut down our country. We know that they collapsed our economy on purpose. We know that they've been testing to see how far they could go to get the people of the United States to conform, to be little sheep, and many, many did. Okay, so that collapse of the economy is almost certain. It's going to be very difficult. If you got cash in your pocket, you're going to be in good shape. You're going to be able to buy a house pretty cheap here in the next couple of years, If you've got a job that you can keep for a while, you're in good shape. If you have sources of income, you're in good shape. Better to have multiple streams of income than just one. In addition to that, they now coming up with this new thing to scare us all to death. We have an invasion coming across our southern border that is not only being allowed by our politicians, our powers that be, but it's being assisted, it's being welcomed, it's being promoted. And the money that is taken away, I would say from us, but we don't have any money. We are stone cold broke. A country that operates in the red and has no way to pay its debt is not using, it's using borrowed money. Okay. But they're not really borrowing it from us anymore. Well, they are putting a financial slavery on our kids and our grandkids. That should enrage us. Apparently it doesn't. Apparently it just doesn't. It doesn't dent the consciousness of most Americans. The idea that we have a $30 trillion debt, the idea that we have unfunded liabilities of over $200 trillion, that we are going to send $40 billion now to Ukraine to help get us into another war, that we can send our young people over to die or get mentally and physically mangled. The idea that we're essentially borrowing that from China, and we're sending that, we can't get baby formula, and yet we're shipping certain ones, baby formula, in from Europe. That's not going to be on the open market because it's for specific babies. It's probably going to be distributed through government programs. You know that. The crime in our country is out of control. It's worse than it's ever been before. And there is nothing being done about it, not even tried. Dozens of people are shot every weekend in Chicago and every other major city in this country. And yet they try to lift up certain groups to be hated. We know that they've tried to split our country and split us apart for a long time. That's how they stay in power. They're going to continue to be able to do it because there's enough ignorant people on both sides to allow it. We've seen our religious communities just dissolve into perversion and immorality. One might wonder whether God has taken back his blessing, has removed his protection from us. When a people turns away from God, he sometimes gives them over to evil rulers and over to enemies. There's a lot more to this, and you know it as well as I do. But when all of these things come together, and we've had a little bit of all these kinds of things in the past, but we've never had it to this extent all at once. And when you have this many things happening all at once, none of which are being solved, and when you have a government that is totally corrupt and inept, the only thing they're good at is being corrupt, there is no way to come back from this. We have people still trying to fight the good fight. I'll say that I still try to fight in some ways, but it's not with any hope to win necessarily, but to improve my position, our position in what's coming. So what is coming? Imagine every system collapsing. Not from an EMP, not from an CME, but from finances collapsing, people who won't work, who are living on government money or their savings, which is going to run out. People in houses that they haven't been paying their mortgages on. People not taking jobs. Businesses now having to close or cut back hours or services, not because of government edicts, but because they can't get people to work. How do you fix that? I don't think it can be fixed. I think there's no fixing it. I think that it has to be a rebirth after a collapse. That's the only way that I can see it. So why all this? Because you have to be ready for it. You have to be prepared. You have to anticipate this. Excuse me, I'm going to take another sip. You have to anticipate this, and you have to internalize this and understand it so that you can prepare properly. So how do you prepare properly? You know, Kelly sent me something from her sister-in-law who got something by text that somebody was going around store to store trying to find and seeing all the shortages, all the things that aren't there. And I guess it was kind of new and kind of a surprise. It finally brought it home to her. And I told Kelly, I said, I don't think most people have any idea how bad things are going to get. I think people are walking through the grocery store now, seeing that some things are out, but hey, look, there's still a lot of stuff here. I can't get bread, but you know, there's a wheat bread. I don't eat wheat bread, but you know, there's some of that. There's some buns. Well, you know, I can't get, you know, whatever, but there's plenty of ketchup. You know, stuff like that. People aren't seeing it. And because they've never lived a life of deprivation, they can't admit to themselves. They can't even fathom. It's not a matter of admitting. They can't even fathom. They can't imagine that it would ever happen. So everyone needs to prepare now with that in mind, that you're preparing for a total collapse of all systems. Well, how can it be all systems? Well, it could be the power, it could be the gas, it could be the water. These people have to have people working at them. They have to have supplies. They have to have equipment. They need to be able to keep their equipment in order. And yet, if they can't get parts, how do they do that? We may very well see a cascading effect from one area and one system to another that we would expect from something else. So you have to be your own source for everything. You really have to get your mind there. You have to have food. You have to have water and a way to clean water. You have to be growing food for when your stored food runs out, but you ought to have 7 years of stored food. I know that seems a lot to everybody. Where do I get that? I get it from the Bible. That's what Joseph was directed to store up for Egypt. How can I argue with him? We don't know what's coming. We have no idea what's coming. When you don't know what's coming, is it smart to prepare for the best or the worst? That's right. Make sure you've got everything you need to survive anything you can imagine. And that includes being able to protect yourself. Now, I don't cover that stuff here, but I'm covering more and more over on Patreon. You ought to come over there because these are things you're going to need to know. I've covered about choosing handguns for beginner. I get into even for more advanced people, how to carry concealed, how to clear a house by yourself. We're going to get more into gun handling and the use of it. This is something I did for years, and it's something that you need to know. And it's not a matter of going to a shooting school or going to a flat range. It's a matter of learning from somebody who has done it to survive, because that's the position you would find yourself in. So, the old Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times, right? Well, we're living in interesting times, and I think they're about to get a lot more interesting. They also say, and I don't know this to be a fact because I don't read Chinese, they say that the symbol for danger and opportunity are the same. I don't know if that's true. Maybe it's something that somebody made up. But anyway, if it is true, there are a lot of dangers in our future. There are a lot of opportunities in our future. I think this is one of those times that's going to separate the people. It's going to separate the wheat from the chaff. There are going to be a lot of people suffering greatly. And a lot of people probably kind of finding their own and stepping up, finding something in them that they didn't know they had. But the way to get there is to think about it first. I'd suggest you look at your plan, look at your preps. What are you weak in? What areas are you weak in? You need to fill those. Because whether it's food, whether it's medical, whether it's income, whether it's protecting yourself, whether it's power, you may be relying on yourself and nobody else. Short term, long term, medium term, who knows? I don't know. And the thing is, neither do you. But we do know that these things are piling up. And it's just like, it's the tipping point. It's when the boat gets too full that all your bailing isn't going to save it. And I think that's the point we're at now. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Remember, I'll remember to put a pinned comment down here for those of you who want to be able to order my books. By the way, I love all of you people. I should say more often. I get so many emails at at the email from readers and things like this who have read my books, and I enjoy getting them from you so much. Thank you. Keep at it. Yeah, I'm writing on the 6th one. For those of you who haven't, you really need to get them. I said the other day, I've never had a question on here, or pretty much seen a question on any other YouTube channel that I don't answer in detail in these books. A lot more than I can answer in a 20 or 30 minute video, right? But you need to be ready. We all need to be ready, because it's going to be interesting to see what we're going to go through, and interesting to see how we come out the other side, right? Okay. Do everything you can. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. How well you live tomorrow depends entirely on how well you prepare today. So, if you haven't gotten started for serious, get serious. If you have been serious, keep at it and try to ratchet it up a little bit. We don't know how much longer we have until we're going to have to use it, right? Okay. Y'all have a good day. Hopefully, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.